And we begin with that historic meeting at the White House between Presidents Trump, Zelenskyy, and several European leaders. Now the president says he's pushing for a sit-down between Ukraine's leader and Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a social media post, Trump says he spoke with Putin after the peace talks and began the arrangements for a meeting, including a trilateral meeting. In a hot mic moment from yesterday, the president seemed to suggest Putin would end the war as a favor to him. Take a listen.
I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand? I think as crazy as it sounds.
And we have team coverage right now. Ramy and Inocencio is tracking how world leaders are responding from our London bureau. But first, let's take you to the White House, where Aaron Navarro is standing by. Aaron, good morning. So what are the key takeaways from that high-stakes meeting?
Yeah, good morning, Michael. It seems that further talk of security guarantees for Ukraine in the event that this war is ended was a main topic from yesterday. The details on that are still vague, though there is an indication, given the European leaders as well as Zelenskyy's talk about it, that it could potentially be a substitute for Ukraine to join NATO, which both President Putin of Russia as well as President Trump say will not happen. President Trump posted after the meeting with Zelenskyy and European leaders that peacekeepers would be, quote, provided by various European countries in coordination with the United States. Afterwards, Zelenskyy also wrote that they, quote, appreciate the important signal from the U.S. regarding its readiness to support and be part of these guarantees. This is one thing the White House officials came out of that meeting with in Alaska with Putin, saying that they made some progress with Russia on. And another takeaway, at one point, President Trump called Putin while the European leaders and Zelenskyy were there, as the goal is to now get to a trilateral meeting at some point between the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia. Zelenskyy said he's ready for any format when it comes to that meeting, though he later told CBS News that no date has been set yet.
Well, Aaron, it's hard not to notice that this meeting had a vastly different tone to Trump's last meeting with Zelenskyy in February. How did the energy in the room differ?
Yeah, the dynamic between President Trump and Zelenskyy in particular was obviously more friendly. You saw them smiling, laughing. Zelenskyy had a bit of a different attire. If you recall from that March Oval Office meeting, it was his attire that kind of sparked a heated conversation between him and Vice President J.D. Vance, as Vance insinuated that Zelenskyy disrespected the United States, did not say thank you enough. Yesterday, you heard Zelenskyy thank President Trump multiple times. Another difference was just the presence of these European leaders to help be there to articulate the position of Ukraine, as well as show President Trump that Europe is willing to play a big role when it comes to maintaining peace in the region, as President Trump in the past has criticized these countries for not spending or doing enough.
Aaron Navarro at the White House. Thank you. Now, for more on this, I want to bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio from our London newsroom. Ramy, good morning. So what reaction are you seeing from European leaders after the Trump-Zelenskyy meeting?
Yeah, well, Michael, momentum keeps going, and the mood here on this side of the Atlantic is positive. In the past hour, leaders in Europe of the so-called Coalition of the Willing, chaired by Keir Starmer of the UK and Emmanuel Macron of France, started a video call to talk more about potential security guarantees in Ukraine. And there you can see a little bit of that video conference call that has been happening in this past hour. Also, in this next hour, we're expecting an even bigger video call with all 27 nations of the European Council. But, you know, right after yesterday's meeting with Trump, we got initial reaction from Starmer himself about how everything went down. Take a listen.
Yeah, well, today's meeting was good and constructive, and there was a real sense of unity between the European leaders that were there and President Trump and President Zelenskyy.
Yeah, and that came across from all sides there. Trump called Starmer a friend. He said Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was an inspiration. And a little bit of a sidetrack here, but German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, he said that he had a great tan. But again, this is all positive here. And then the praise was aimed back at Trump. Meloni said something has changed thanks to you, Mr. Trump. Merz said that Trump had opened the door to a resolution. And then, of course, can't forget President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. He thanked basically everyone, Trump and his European defenders. Some are calling them his leadership bodyguards there. This, though, even as Russia continued to hit energy facilities in central Ukraine overnight, and even while talks were going on over the past couple of days. As for the meat of these talks, so crucially, Zelenskyy said that the U.S. was ready to be part of security guarantees and that Trump, even on Truth Social, said that guarantees would be in coordination with the United States. But we're also hearing from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. He weighed in on Fox News and said that they are not discussing NATO membership and that discussions, as we know, are still ongoing right now.
Now, Ramy, what have we been hearing from the Kremlin about the possibility of a trilateral meeting?
Sure. Before we get to the trilateral, we have to get through the bilateral. President Trump pushing that one-on-one between Putin and Zelenskyy. He said that preps are being made, but we know that there's no word on when or where. But, you know, if that bilateral does happen, then that could set the stage for a trilateral. But the Kremlin has not agreed to this suggestion, has been mum on this. We did get a statement from Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov. That just happened in the past hour or so. He said that this was more about what happened during the summit between Putin and Trump himself. He said that it was very good and that it was clear that the head of the U.S. wants a long-term sustainable result. But he also threw the Europeans under the bus and insisted that if they had their say, they would just keep supplying weapons to Ukraine, in his words, to prolong the war.
All right, Ramy and Inocencio in London, thank you.